Basic Brewing Radio is sponsored in part by the American Homebrewers Association. The AHA wants to remind you that the Great American Beer Festival returns to Denver this October 6th through 8th. And if you want pre-sale access to the hottest beer fest in the U.S., you're going to need to be an AHA member. Join the American Homebrewers Association by June 28th for a pre-sale code, a $10 discount on all general session tickets, access to the members-only Saturday afternoon tickets, and first access to paired tickets. Visit homebrewersassociation.org/basicbrewing today and get access to the hottest beer fest in the U.S. homebrewersassociation.org/basicbrewing. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, June 9th, 2022. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week we head to Charlotte, North Carolina to celebrate the first anniversary of Vaulted Oak Brewing with brewer David Carey and co-founder Kiel Arrington. And I do something I don't remember doing on mic in another brewery tasting session. A little embarrassing. If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives of our audio and video shows. If you go to basicbrewingshop.com, you can find our DVDs and our brewers' logbooks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Basic Brewing and find our show page on Facebook as well. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. Soon, Steve Wilkes and I will get together to record the next video episode. It's about the beer that Casey Letellier brewed with Kernza at Ivory Bill Brewing in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Kernza, you may remember from Casey and my conversation, is a perennial grain that has been developed by the Land Institute in Kansas. And since it's perennial, it doesn't have to be replanted year after year, so there are many benefits to the environment. And it also makes a really delicious beer, it turns out. I can't wait to share that one with Steve, and financial supporters will see that episode first. I have the rare situation of actually being ahead in recording interviews. Coming up next week, we'll talk to the founders of Dive Bear in Switzerland as they're making plans to expand their brewing operations. That's a fun conversation. After that, we're headed to Pittsburgh for HomebrewCon the week after that, so we're taking that week off since we'll be on the road and recording more stuff for you. We're planning to return with lots of great content that we're currently lining up and talking to about now. Also, I recorded an interview with Matt Giovanisi for the next step in our recipe development series. We hadn't forgotten about that. You'll hear that in July as Matt and I strategize to brew an American amber ale. That was a fun conversation, and I'm planning to do something similar with Chris Colby as well coming up. Lots of fun stuff coming down the road. Speaking of fun, there's lots of honey-based beverage fun happening from our friends and sponsors Ricky and Kelly of Groenfell and Havoc Meaderies in Vermont. First off, there's Be Proud, that we've been talking about, a cassis orange sour mead made in celebration of Pride Month. That ships this week. Ricky says Be Proud has a lot of strong Brett character with orange peel on the end of the tasting. That sounds delicious. Also, if you're not familiar with craft mead and want to explore some options, you can order one of June's mystery mead boxes from Groenfell and Havoc. You can choose Under the Stars, Pride Season, On the Beach, On the Trail, or At Home with a Good Book. In each mead mystery box, you'll receive four packs of small batch craft mead, at least 3 different varieties determined by your theme choice, and at least 1 limited or seasonal mead variety. It's only $60, and you'll get free shipping. Usually you have to order at least $75 to get free shipping, but with the mystery mead box, you'll get free shipping included. Check out Be Proud, the mystery mead box, and all the honey-based deliciousness at groenfell.com. That's GROENNFELL. Okay, a couple weeks ago, Susan, Will, and I headed to Charlotte, North Carolina. We were originally going to go see the Foo Fighters, but tragically their drummer, Taylor Hawkins, passed away, and that show was canceled. So we took the opportunity to meet up with our longtime friend John, ate lots of good food, And we made time to visit with David and Kyle at Vaulted Oak Brewing. David Carey, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for coming by.
And Kiel Arrington. Almost called you Sean Harrington because it was a friend of mine in high school, but Kiel Arrington, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
And where are we at?
We are in Charlotte, North Carolina, just off of Monroe Road, which is nearby Bojangles Coliseum.
And we're at Vaulted Oak Brewing Company, right?
Correct, yeah. Over here on the east side of Charlotte, Vaulted Oak Brewing. We've been here close to about a year to the date. June 8th will be our 1-year anniversary officially. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah. We're pretty excited. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're just trying to figure it out as we go, for sure. So,
well, you're doing something right. The beers look great, and the building is beautiful. Tell me about this structure.
Yeah, so this is an old BB&T bank, branch bank, and for those that don't know, BB&T was a somewhat regional bank here in the Carolinas, and they had a merger with another bank about, honestly, a year or two ago, and given that there's another one about a mile down the street, they decided to close this one up. It's kind of funny. I live about half a mile away, and this is actually a place that I would come and bring my cash from the shift before, the night before, when I was bartending, and make my deposits. And so when we found out who had purchased the building, after it had sat for a little bit, we kind of got things going, and one thing led to another, and now there's a brewery here. So,
and we're sitting in a patio, which I take it used to be the drive-through.
That's right. So we closed it in with some slide-up doors and paved it all up level, and kind of call this area the terrarium because we got some plants in here, and there's always nice, good light even on cloudy days like that.
Well, excellent. Who wants to tell the origin story of the brewery?
Yeah, I guess I can do that. So kind of like we had been talking about before. I had been home brewing. Probably about 10 years ago. Started up with the typical kit from a mother-in-law kind of story that everyone says. And
I didn't get my kit from my mother-in-law.
Oh, well, very fortunate for you. You're just kidding. No, so fell in love with it. Brewing in 5-gallon buckets and stuff like that, and bottling beers up with prime and sugar. Just for 3 weeks later to hear ka-chink, kaplush and all that stuff, and exploding bottles and all that stuff. The joys of home brewing, as they say. But yeah, at the same time, I was bartending, about to become a bar manager at a place here in Charlotte. Eventually took over as kind of the beer purchaser, and that's kind of when the craft brewing movement, if you will, the most recent, I guess you could say, really started taking Charlotte by storm. And from my side, it was an interesting relationship, getting to know the owners at the time and what they were going through and what their vision and really the culture that they were trying to foster, in Charlotte, and just seeing how it just really kind of took the city by storm, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of said that, couple that with, the business degree that I put in quotes, that I had gotten, and my love for hospitality and craft beer. It was like, maybe one day, we could, I can make something of this. And it sat around for years and years and years. I came up with a business plan way back in 2015. Tried to get it off the ground then. If only I knew then what I knew now, kind of thing. Trying to get investors and stuff like that. So needless to say, it didn't go really anywhere. Got married, had a kid, and somewhere in between then, I had actually done a small batch beer with David at his previous job, and we kind of just hit it off then. And ever since then, I kept it in the back of my head. I was like, if we ever start something up, I'd love for him to be a part of it. Definitely be our head brewer. He's basically a doctor, basically a scientist in the field of beer and all things fermentation. So, and then, like I said, about a year ago, or I guess 2 years ago, really, this place came up, and I kind of just said, well, if it's now or never, and kind of jokingly said, if someone's going to build a brewery in my neighborhood, then it should probably be me.
Excellent. So Kyle's more the business side, it sounds like, and you are in the brewery, actually.
Right.
In the brewery.
Yeah, I mostly stay behind that glass wall back there. That's my realm, kind of.
Don't tease the brewer through the wall.
But we all really we're small business, so we all really kind of do a lot of things together.
So you told me that you started off as a home brewer as well.
Yeah, so I got into brewing initially. I went to school at Clemson and had a couple buddies there. Got hooked up with, actually dove straight into all grain brewing for my first batch.
Wow.
And one of my buddies that was there actually now owns Carolina Barn House, which is down in Anderson, South Carolina, just down the road from Clemson. And he had, when we were in school, Clemson has this creative inquiry program where any students or even faculty can write up a little proposal, get some money from the university, and start a little class. So he had started a zymology class. He was in in a department that was working on a lot of biofuel stuff. And it turns out the way you make cellulosic ethanol is not too different from the way you make beer. There's a lot of crossover there. That was really great because we were able to get some resources from the university and make beer, and we had access to labs there with a lot of expensive equipment, so we could, we weren't just brewing beer to drink beer. We got to do a lot of science on it, look at things like gluten reduction, different microbial behaviors, and it also started a program of harvesting some wild yeasts off of Clemson's a big agricultural school, so they got some places nearby. A lot of times it was in orchards that we were looking for stuff and trying to characterize it and see if we could capture anything that would make for a good beer.
I'm sitting here sampling while y'all are talking. This is work too. The sampling and the tasting. Number one here on the withdrawal slip. What have we got here?
This is the Eastside Sun Blonde. It's one of our flagship beers. It is really one of those beer-flavored beers, the everyman's beer, something that's light, easy drinking, not quite like all the light American lagers around. Something that is a little more rich, a little more sweet. Something that I think is a good entry point for people that are new to craft beer.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's got more character than, say, your average Pilsner. It's got a nice malt base. It's got a nice hop bite, and would be very approachable. Susan, my wife Susan, and our son Will are at the other end of the table. Nod your approval if you like the beer. Yes, they're nodding. Okay, good.
Just say yes.
So Kyle, how tightly do you hold on to David's reins, or do you let him kind of be inspired and follow his own sort of influences to build the beers, or do you guys collaborate on what you want your sort of brewery to taste like?
It's kind of funny. Like a lot of times when people, especially my friends that knew me through my heavy home brewing days, I tell them, that I don't, brew or anything like that, and they're kind of surprised and kind kind of the first thing I'll say is, well, I tried to be David's assistant for about a week, and then I quickly realized to get out of the way. And while it is jokingly, for any home brewer aspiring to become a professional brewer, like I had thought at one time, it's not impossible by any means. A lot of people do it, but there are a certain set of challenges, especially, someone like me who had never worked in an actual production brewery before. There were just some certain hurdles that, I would really have to devote all my time to learning, which would take me away from some of the other aspects of the business. And so, I think I quickly realized that, like I said, I just need to kind of let David do his own thing and, put my trust in him. And, that's the reason that, we all kind of agreed on starting this thing. And so, when it comes to, holding his hand or reins or anything like that, I would think I don't do any of that by any means. We definitely sit around and talk about vision and balance as far as from a tap room perspective, trying to make sure that we're not too heavy on one particular style or the other. And I think in our short 1 year of existence, I'd say we've done a pretty good job of that. There was a time probably 2 or 3 months ago where we had 4 IPAs on tap. It just happened to happen like that. But we also, at the time, also had an ESB. We had a Saison. We had, obviously this blonde ale, had a stout, had a porter. And, that was honestly it's kind of cheesy, but it was something to kind of be proud of, I thought.
I was perusing older episodes of Basic Brewing video the other day, and it hit me that I've had my Warthog electric brewing system from our friends and sponsors Desiree and Dave of HighGravityBrew.com for a long time, 7 years. God, time is flying by. During that time, I've used my system to brew a lot of fun things, and I've even used it as a sous vide for steaks and for kettle souring. My Warthog system has taken the pain out of propane. In fact, when I think back on brewing with propane, it seems positively primitive. HighGravityBrew.com has single, 2, and 3 vessel configurations from 5 gallons to 2 barrels, and you can simply get the standalone controller if you want to build your own setup from stuff you already have. Use the code EBC75BB on HighGravityBrew.com, and you'll save $75 off the Warthog purchase. That's check them out. And tell them we sent you. That's at family-owned and operated HighGravityBrew.com. That's HighGravityBrew.com. So is it a challenge, especially in, Charlotte has become a big craft beer town, and North Carolina in general. Lots of people are moving out here, putting production breweries and, and having like an East Coast presence. Are you trying to differentiate yourself in any way or stand out, or is it more about being the neighborhood brewery, or what's your strategy and when you come up with your beer menu?
Certainly more towards the neighborhood brewery. We try to cover a wide range of styles. Haven't focused the brewery into anything specific, at least so far. But yeah, that's like you said, it's a very populated brewery environment here in Charlotte. I think our location really helps us out a lot. We're a little bit outside of the cluster, and getting into a little east of Charlotte, and again along Monroe Road, which is well populated also. But really, capturing. A lot of folks that come in here live within a mile or two. A good number of people that'll even walk or bike in here. Oh, nice. So that was our primary focus with getting the brewery going, is really making it, more of a neighborhood spot that's welcoming to everybody, and then trying to have an array of things that something that appeals to everyone.
And what am I sipping on here?
So the second one here is the C Notes IPA. It is another one of our flagship beers. So the C Notes, this is an all Chinook Cashmere Cascade beer. Playing into the bank theme a little bit there with the name. This is definitely one of our most popular beers. So like I said, we call it a hybrid IPA. Because it's not a hazy IPA, but are looking to go for some of those fruity, juicier notes in it, but also a little pininess, a little resinous from more of that West Coast style too.
Yeah, it's got a nice hop character, and I always joke every time I talk to brewers about hazy beers that of course hazy beers are killing craft beer. And
they are abound, and
they're ruining craft beer. But I'm joking, obviously, because I love them. I generally like most styles that I encounter, but whatever is delicious, I'm all for. This is not. It's got a lot of nice, like you say, fruity. Piney hop character. It's not super aggressive on the bitterness side on my palate, and maybe my palate is just wrecked. Am I reading that wrong?
No, I think you hit it pretty much spot on. Again, a little less bitterness than West Coast style, but still would not call this a hazy IPA because typically there's a little bit of haze in this beer, but again, so that's why we call it a hybrid. We do get a lot of questions about that. Which, I mean, if nothing else, it's good that it gets a conversation started about it, which a lot of people are interested in.
Susan, what do you think? The second one, is it too bitter?
No, I thought it was going to be really bitter because it's very kind of pungent almost. I mean, I thought it was going to be super, super hoppy, but I could drink that.
It's an endorsement.
I think too, David can touch on it just a little bit as well, but the hop purveyor that we're getting our hops from is not located in the Pacific Northwest, and so that Chinook, especially at least on my palate, I pick up a lot of unique pineapple characteristics, stone fruit characteristics, whereas a lot of times you'll get other beers that have Pacific Northwest Chinook in it, and you will get a lot of those bitter, kind of more resinous pine notes, I find. So I think that our hop purveyor is definitely unique in that sense as well. So,
hey, Will, I forgot to ask you, what do you think?
I think it's pretty good. It's not very hoppy. Well, I mean, it's a little hoppy, but I taste the hops mostly in the aftertaste, and it's not overwhelming at all. I like it.
When you say hoppy, you mean bitter, right? Or
yeah.
Will is 21, so he's still developing his palate. I like it. I mean, I could drink a couple 3 pints of this without getting palate fatigued. It's very, very, very nice.
It is actually our most popular beer, and it was really one of the ones I tried to center in on initially. Made a couple tweaks to it on the way, but it's another widely appealing IPA, I think.
So what's your hopping strategy?
So it obviously depends on the beer. With this one, it gets so pretty hefty in the kettle and in the whirlpool, and then it gets an early active fermentation dry hop as well as a post fermentation dry hop. So I think that's also really key to getting those juicy flavors in there and not getting too much of the hop bite, and being able to put enough hops in there to where it's appreciably hoppy without the burn in your throat or having to let it condition out before that goes away.
Yeah, Susan used to call, and probably still does, call aggressive IPAs vomit beers because of that astringency on the back of the palate, with an exceptionally bitter beer. We talked before we started recording about breaking rules, and that was one of the rules that has been shattered over the years. That you have to add your bittering hops at the beginning of the boil. Period. But there lots of beers are being brewed where, no hops are being put in the boil itself, and they're in just from whirlpool on. So, again, the rules are being written every time, a brewer tries something new.
Like dry hop strategies, too. Past few years, there's some kind of newer hop products that have been on the market with like cryo hop stuff and other extracts. And then definitely feels now, more than 5 years ago, people are more willing to experiment with dry hop timings, doing other funky things, rousing, using the hop cannons and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think I love exploring stuff like that, and I love talking to other people about it too, because sometimes people do things that are very similar but have very different experiences with it.
We haven't talked about your system.
Yeah, so we've got a 7-barrel brew house here. We got 4 7-barrel fermenters, and then a couple 15-barrel fermenters you can double batch into. So usually when I'm double batching, I'll do one brew first day, and then pitch yeast. Second day, I'll do the second brew, send that into the tank, and no more yeast added or anything.
And you said that you liked the 7-barrel size. You've worked with larger systems in the past. Why is 7-barrel good for you?
It's a good it's a large enough size to where it can keep production moving, but it's a small enough size where I really feel comfortable being able to experiment with stuff, and also without consuming huge amounts of hops that are expensive. And if something doesn't work out, then
Yeah, but Kyle, from a business perspective, is 7-barrel sort of the sweet spot for you guys and what you're looking to do right now?
Right now, yes. Right this moment, yes. No, David definitely hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think we decided on a 7-barrel just kind of because it does allow for this experimentation. I mean, I think we're up to close to 50 right now, different beers or batches and stuff like that. And
yeah, we just had I just brewed batch number 52 this past week, and like I said, we're coming up on 1-year anniversary in about a week. So
my math is correct. That's a beer a week.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and so it allows us to experiment, and I think when we hit something, something good, we have a good supply of it. Knock on wood, we haven't dumped anything yet. That's just because David's awesome at what he does, but knock on wood.
Hopefully you didn't just jinx him.
I probably did. I'm really good at jinxing. If there's one good thing I'm good at, it's jinxing someone. So, but no, I do find it to kind of be that sweet spot, especially with the 215 from barrel fermenters. When for like C notes or blonde or something that we know we're gonna want a lot of, then it's not as challenging to produce a quote unquote production sized batch enough to distribute to a handful of accounts, and obviously keep enough in the tap room. That's always the balance, at least from my vantage point.
So do you have outside accounts right now?
Yeah, we have probably close to 8 to 10. That number could definitely be bigger. Some days I wish it was. Some days I wish it wasn't. But first and foremost, the tap room. Keeping the tap room stocked is priority number one for sure.
Yeah, I've heard brewers say that sometimes the outside accounts are more about PR and promoting the brand than about profitability.
That's 100% true, I think, at least from where we sit right now, because 7 barrels isn't that big of a batch size for sure. So we do need to be, and we are, I think, somewhat strategic in where we're placing our kegs. So I think it does work. We trust that the places that we're sending our kegs at can knowledgeably talk about us, talk about our brand, talk about our beer, and we have no issues. So.
Yeah, the main focus is really tap room, but we do have some good relationships with some of the accounts that we have around town, and bottle shops and other breweries or seltzeries that we exchange with a lot, and just getting it out there too, kind of like you're saying.
There's something new and exciting coming soon from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Organic Yeast. They've announced through social media that they're going to release a blend of 2 of Imperial's most popular strains. You have to wait for more details on that, but if you hit their booth at HomebrewCon in Pittsburgh, it's my understanding that you'll be able to sample something brewed with that blend. And Imperial's Dr. Matt Winans will be leading a session on sake brewing at HomebrewCon as well. And we'll be able to sample some sake there at the Imperial's booth. I can't wait for that. But you don't have to wait for the new series of instructional videos that Imperial has posted on their YouTube channel. This series is aimed at professional and advanced brewers, but everybody can get some great info from them. Oxygenation, propagation, harvesting and repitching, cell counting, and viability testing. Lots of great stuff on Imperial's YouTube channel. Ask your local homebrew shop about Imperial Organic Yeast and check them out. Their new videos on YouTube. And you can find them also at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. Well, I know that Susan's really liking this third beer. Dark and rich and delicious. What do we got?
This is the third of our flagship beers, the Split Wrench Rye Stout. So there's kind of a story behind the name for this one. This was actually the very first beer that I brewed. Batch number 1 was Split Wrench here. And so we had just kind of finished up getting install done with all the equipment. Last thing was we were getting temperature sensors wired up to the fermenters. The manufacturer had actually sent us the wrong temperature sensors, and they'd already been installed in the tanks, and so they ended up sending us the correct ones. Those other ones just had to be removed. One of them was cross-threaded into the tank, and so first thing was grab a wrench, just not budging at all, not like grab channel locks, big old channel locks, not budging. So what I ended up doing was driving down to the hardware store down the road and grabbing a box wrench instead of a crescent wrench so I could get all the way around there, which, gripped at it better. It wasn't slipping at least, but still wasn't budging. So what I ended up having to do was cut that wrench in half so that I could get a pipe, a breaker bar, a persuasion bar, whatever you want to call it, about a 3-foot pipe over the end of that wrench to get that unthreaded out of there. So I had to split the wrench to make that one work.
And these are the kinds of things that you don't miss. By not being in the brew house.
That is true. I mean, you always do. You always do trade one set of challenges for the next. But yeah, those, I guess, one day we'll look back at that and say, those were the good old days, I guess. But at that moment in time, I mean, I thought the world was going to end, but
yes, yeah, just sitting there cussing myself, but it does make a good story, right?
Yeah. And a good name. It is way good. Talk about the dark malts that you used in this.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a rye stout. It's got a lot of chocolate rye in there. Also has some chocolate wheat. Also has some roasted barley, and a little bit of Special W in there also.
I guess that I found that brewing with rye gives you a lot of viscosity, a lot of body. And this certainly has that. It's not sweet at all. It's nicely balanced. Yeah. So it's not a milk stout, but it is pretty chewy.
Well, and that is definitely the target on this was, sometimes I brew to my taste a little bit too, and I love tasting, rich milk stouts and imperial stouts and everything, but a lot of times the sweetness on it I really can't drink more than an ounce or so. I know some people are really into that, but really with this one was looking to make it not real sweet, not so rich that it's hard to finish a pint of it.
It's delicious. It's my favorite so far. I got to say, they've all been clean and good and delicious. What is you have intrigued me with this
So
fourth of the flight.
That one for last, also.
It's not my first rodeo here, David.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting beer. I've been really excited about. It is a tepache-inspired beer, which sounded like... So tepache is a traditional fermented Mexican pineapple beverage, typically not alcoholic. But so kind of where this all started was a buddy that I was working with before. He and I were big into cooking and weird fermentation stuff. And where we first saw tepache was actually, I don't know if I can name drop Brad Leone. The It's Alive series.
We're fans.
Yeah, me too. I'd love his stuff. But so that was where we were first exposed to tepache, and each of us had made a few batches on our own, and tried out some different stuff with it. And he's actually at another brewery. We were both at Triple C Brewing here in Charlotte. He moved on to Hoptown Brewing, and I moved on to Vaulted Oak. But we decided to collaborate on this beer, again, because we love cool, weird fermentation stuff. So this was a little bit different. It did a quick kettle sour on it, first of all, to provide some of that acidity and tartness that you get in tepache from, the mixture of microbes that come in on pineapple skin. So quick kettle sour on it. Went to the fermenter. We used the Omega Labs C2C Farmhouse Ale, or American Farmhouse, which that was really... That's a good one. It was the first time I'd used it. I like that a lot. So it gives it a little some of that funky character from the Brett that's in there. I think that's a blend of a Saison strain from like Northeast and a Brett strain from the Northwest or something. And then obviously fruited it with some pineapple. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Actually reminds me a lot of some of the actual tepache batches I've made before.
Yeah, it's super nice. It's a bit tart, but very approachable. It reminds me of that beer that you were talking about, fruit puree in the brewery. It reminds me. It's about the tartness level of the passion fruit pilsner that I made with passion fruit puree. Which gives it a nice sort of clean tartness, but the fruit. Is in there as well nicely. It's a little bit funky, but again not on the. It's nothing to be scared of if you've never had if you don't like funky beers.
That's exactly what I was hoping for. But I was going to ask what you thought of the funk level in it, because definitely could have let it go a little longer and aged a little more, and that Brett would have funked it up a little more, but I was really going for something that is approachable and refreshing too.
What was the pH that you were shooting for, or did you hit?
So this one is around 3.2 final pH. Wow. Down there. And again, that's from the kettle sour, which this was a little less than a 24-hour kettle sour, shorter than I do with like Goza or such, because I really just wanted to get that. Not make it sour exactly, but make it tart, to help boost that pineapple tartness that comes through.
It's really nice. It's people are probably tired of me talking about my Christmas kettle sour beer that I got down to 3.4, and normal Saccharomyces didn't want to touch it. It just didn't. It just didn't want to go at all, and I wound up fermenting it. With Brett, Brettanomyces, which didn't have any problem with it, and so it's similar. comparing again your beer to my beer, but it's nicely tart and with that funk in there as well. It's just a nicely balanced. Again, not super challenging for those who are just coming in off the street and are maybe scared of sour beers. So Kyle, what do you think? Is this just the right level of adventurous here in the in the menu?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we had the capacity, we probably would like to do even more. I know David's first love is wild and mixed or wild and spontaneous fermentation, and if we had a whole barrel house to give to him, I'd snap my fingers and make it happen.
One day. But I think this Piña Piña is a great example of kind of showcasing David's talents, with what we've got, really. That C2C yeast strain with the mixture of Sack and Brett, kind of a game changer, at least for us, because sitting with 6 fermenters, we don't necessarily have time to just let a beer sit around either for 6 months to a year in age, nor do we have a bunch of barrels that we can just put a whole batch and let them do their work and then eventually blend them. But again, we'd like to one day. But yeah, we'll get there. We are getting there. But I was super pleased with this one. And kind of piggybacking off of what Dave was saying, it's approachable for the person that wants something on a hot North Carolina or southeastern summer day. This is perfect. It's light, it's dry, it's refreshing, it's fruity.
Nothing like just a big wet horse blanket. Yeah.
And then it's got a little bit, but it's got a little horse blanket, but it's nothing from a bartender's vantage point. It's not a hard sell. There's some beers out there that are a hard sell, and it takes a specific kind of person to be able to order that confidently. And I think that what we do really well is have a wide array of beers. We have, Brett beers, and we have rye stouts, and we have different kinds of IPAs, pales, lagers, and all that such. But they're very approachable. All of them, in my opinion, are very approachable. Whether or not that customer likes it or not, that's fine. But, they're approachable at least to be able to be tried. Right?
Yeah, the funk is becoming more apparent as I it builds on the palate in a good way. Like I say, it's sneaky. It gets you in there. It's like, oh, this is tasty. You can get the pineapple, you get tartness, and then a few more sips later, it's like, hey, what's that? And it's that I love Orval, for example, because of the funk, the horse blanket or whatever you want to call it, but that there's that certain Brettanomyces character that's in there that I like a lot, but it can be overpowering sometimes.
For sure, I've had some Brett beers that I guess my best comparison as far as aroma would be urinal cake.
You ding! Oh! Ding, ding, ding.
I don't know if I can say as far as flavor. I've never tasted a urinal cake before.
Oh, but, man. We are brothers. I have used the urinal cake as a flavor descriptor, and people look at me so weird. But yeah, to me, Red Bull tastes like urinal cake, okay. and some like White Claw mango hard seltzer. No offense to anybody who likes that, but to me it tastes like urinal cake smell. So I want to shake your hand. Oh no! And then I spilled the beer. Blooper reel. Oh, and then I'm sorry. I got so excited about the urinal cake. front of my family. I'm all embarrassed, and they're all embarrassed. They're getting their own Uber back home. Oh my God! All right, I'm leaving that in there. Can't take me anywhere. Oh my gosh! I think that's the first time I've spilled something during an interview with a brewer, but I got so excited about the urinal cake. Now, it's been 17 years and 799 shows, so maybe there was some other spillage that I forgot, but I think that's a first. Luckily, it was just a small sample of beer. Anyway, Ella from Tavour says that there are some delicious selections available for you to pick this month from TAV.com. Ella says that they have some epic barrel-aged stouts coming in from Aslan Beer Company, some uber hoppy Imperial IPAs from Tripping Animals Brewing, and Equilibrium Brewing that are sure to get the summer started off right. Tavour is not a Beer of the Month club where someone picks the beers for you. You sign up by going to Tavour.com, that's TAV.com, or by downloading the Tavour app. You'll see new beers each day, and when you see something that you like, click on it to add it to your crate, and your beers will ship in a few days to save shipping as your crate fills up. It doesn't cost anything to sign up, and there's no obligation to purchase anything. In fact, if I can ask you a favor, go to Tavour.com, TAV.com, or download the app, and when you sign up, enter the promo code Basic Brewing, all one word, and you'll get $10 off your first shipment of $25 or more. Again, it's free to sign up, and there's no obligation to purchase. Sign up at Tavour.com or with the Tavour app, and enter Basic Brewing as the promo code. Well, this is the flight. There's a can here.
Yeah, so this is
tantalizingly.
This is one of our crowlers. I'm sure you're familiar with crowlers. That there's been a big move away from glass jugs, and aluminum is infinitely recyclable. So, but we do the 19.2 ounce crowlers. This is our option for to-go beer. So we haven't gotten anything else into cans yet, but that is in the near future for us. And yeah, I don't know, Kyle, if you have anything.
We chose the 19.2 ounce size. Really, when you think about it, from I guess really a selfish reason, 19.2 ounces is enough for a person like you or myself to drink in one sitting. It's also big enough to split, into two sizes. So our thought there was that, someone might want to try one, but maybe two or three different of our flavors. And sometimes a 32-ounce crowler, that's a lot, even for two people to split.
Especially a big beer. I think that there could be a market for lids, resealable lids for those. Seriously, if you get like an 8% or a 9%, say, big old hoppy IPA or something, and you take it home, maybe you don't want to drink 32 ounces of an 8 or 9% beer.
I definitely agree with that, and so I think that we just kind of saw this. Unique size was available, and we went with it. And so far, it's been pretty good, I think, as far as, reception from customers. We'll see quite a few people essentially order a 4-pack of them, 4 different beers, and, we'll use, old Pack Tech recycle the old 4-pack Pack Techs, slap one of those on 4 of them, and on your way.
So I think it's smart.
Pretty often the question does come up of why 19.2 ounces exactly?
Because that's what they sell.
Well, that's it. And I don't know exactly. I think it might have something to do with how they manufacture them, and it's the largest they can do without like retooling machine or something. But yeah, it's like a 16-ounce can, just a little taller. Like, I've heard them called stovepipes before, which I know Oscar Blues does some even larger ones, which they probably got the money for the machine retooling to get exactly what they want.
They are the can pioneers. Okay, so last, before I break anything or spill anything else, and thanks, Kyle, for cleaning that up. Clean up on aisle 3. David, tell me, I said that I was going to quiz you on recipe development and how you became confident in developing your own recipes. Lots of homebrewers out there around the world listening. What can you tell them to kind of push them in the right direction on getting more confident in developing recipes?
I guess over everything else is don't be afraid to experiment. And, myself, I rely a lot just on my past experience with things. There's a lot of good info out there. There's also a lot of info out there. And, I mean, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that floats around the brewing industry. Really trying things for yourself, keeping good control on your process. Knowing what's going on, really. And so I make the comparison a lot of brewing to cooking. There is a science element, and there's still room to flex some artistic muscles. And certain things, I've heard, baking is a science, cooking is an art. There are definitely things in brewing that, there's hard science behind. Like, things need to go a certain way, but there's also a lot of room for creating something on your own, specifically with like recipe development. So I really, when I first started brewing, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was, kind of looking to other people, seeing what they were doing, trying stuff out, but really, even still now, I look back to my own experiences with stuff, trying out new grains or stuff like that to make my decisions on how I'm crafting something now.
Well, excellent. And before I forget, we got to thank listener Bob Steele.
Hey, Bob.
He says, hi, Bob. So if you're playing the Bob Newhart game, you have to take a drink now. But you came highly recommended. You were known as or cited as a friend to homebrewers and patient with answering questions with homebrewers, and so you've proven that today.
I try to as much as possible, and but Bob, whenever I see Bob, he's always got some new questions for me, and I love talking to him about it.
Well, excellent. And thanks to you, Kyle, as well.
Yeah, of course. I was just going to say, that's basically what David does with me every day, is just answer my homebrew question. Essentially, or why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? It's like,
Kyle undercuts himself a little bit. It is very much a collaborative effort still. With an occasional he'll help me out on the brew house a little, and but yeah, there's a lot of discussion that happens, and it's one of the ways that coming up with ideas is I don't like to necessarily do that in a vacuum. It's nice to have people that are knowledgeable that we can talk to and come up with plans for stuff, and then I'll do it.
Yeah, and I think relating that to homebrewers, I'm always learning, and I think as a homebrewer, we were always learning. We're always learning. What's the newest technique? What's this? Who's doing what? And so, even though I might not be homebrewing as much or really at all these days, I'm still learning, about the science and arts of fermentation for sure.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time and your hospitality and your patience with my clumsiness.
Happens every day. No worries.
It's a first for the podcast. I haven't spilled anything on Mike.
Okay.
Well, thanks, guys, and best of luck to Vaulted Oak.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Glad you came by.
Well, thanks again to David and to Kyle, and thanks to listener Bob Steele for the tip and the introduction. And congratulations to Vaulted Oak on a successful first year, and best of luck for the years to come. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.